9.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Kiwi.
Time for a little bit of a look into the night sky and also what's happening at the Stardome Observatory with Dylan Storey, amateur astronomer. G'day there, Dylan.
G'day Wammo, g'day listeners.
And let's dive straight into what is happening at the Stardome. Something called natural selection, which is a bit of a Darwin thing going on. How does this relate to astronomy, Dylan?
Well, this is a new planetarium show, so it's like a movie but done in the planetarium format, so it's on the hemispherical screen, so it's a fully sort of immersive experience, and there's a number of production houses around the world doing these planetarium shows. They're all animated because you obviously can't film in that format. And
when you say film in that format, you mean like the round format?
Yeah, the fisheye.
The fisheye.
You know, you couldn't film in it because there'd be nowhere to put the film crew because the camera films all around.
Yeah. So
basically, you've kind of got a focal point, but it's all you can turn around and look behind you and above you and everything. So the animation has to cover all that. So it's quite a tricky genre.
Does that mean like it's like the horizon up?
Yeah, basically, except you tend to tilt the camera or virtual camera forward a bit, so your focus point, your spring line, is about 40 degrees up. That's where the seats are angled, and that's where you're looking. So that's where your characters would appear and stuff like that.
Right,
40 degrees up in the sky.
To be honest, I've never been to the planetarium, so I must visit. So does that mean your seats are back, like almost like you're about to propel yourself into the sky? You're in a rocket.
Yeah, that's what it and that's what it feels like. They're 40 degrees inclined back, so you're looking at this point on the screen, but you've got the whole dome around you, so it's you're sort of fully immersed in the visuals. And as for a moving scene, you know, you'd see say you're moving down a corridor, you'd see the corridor disappearing behind you.
Yeah. Wow, sounds really. It sounds better than IMAX, actually.
It is, but you can't, as I say, you can't really get that video going. So it is a very different genre to film.
Okay.
But there are some great animation places around the world doing it, and this natural selection show is one of them. They've got some really cool stuff in this show, and it's quite a long show. It's 40 minutes, and the reason I was impressed with it is because it really does explain natural selection well, and it takes you through a journey about how Darwin discovered these things and what it actually means. Because I think, anecdotally, I've found there's a lot of misconception around what Darwinism is and natural selection. And, you know, you've got the Darwinist Awards, which is people dying in stupid ways and everything. And it's all very funny and it's a great thing, but that's not Darwinism. People making decisions is not evolution and natural selection.
Yeah.
What it is passing on of random genetic traits due to environmental changes which would happen to favour those traits.
Right. So
it's not necessarily survival of the strongest. In certain situations, it could be survival of the smallest or the biggest thin or whatever. And the show really does cover that very well. So I think it's a must see.
And how long is it?
40 minutes. So for a Stardome show, you get about 45 minutes in the planetarium. So you'd get depending on how long it takes everyone to get seated, you might get sort of a 5-minute look at the sky after that, and then you get a talk on the topic of the month, which this month is extrasolar planets. And then if the weather's okay, then you go outside to look at telescopes.
Cool. Well, let's let's talk about what has been recently discovered, and it was well talked about in the news, but I'd love to get your spin on it as well. This Earth-like planet, they reckon that we can go and ruin one day. What do you what do you think?
Well, or at least give it our best shot.
Yeah.
It's something that astronomers have been searching for a long time, as a planet with basically a similar temperature to Earth, because you know, if there's a planet with a similar temperature, then it could have liquid water, and liquid water seems to be the key ingredient for life. So we haven't had the technology to find one like that up until very recently, and there's all these very new and very advanced telescopes which are searching just for this. But in the end, it was the old Keck telescope on Mauna Kea in Hawaii that's been going for years.
Yeah.
That discovered one. It was using 16 years worth of data. So that's a lot of information to process to look for little anomalies which indicate such a planet. So it's around a red dwarf star, so a star nothing like our sun.
Yeah.
Much cooler and smaller, but it's much closer to the star. It's closer than the orbit of Mercury is to our star. So it orbits in, I don't have the figures in front of me, but it's something like 50 days or less.
So,
and it's also
its days would be quite different to ours, or seasons.
They would be, except that for a planet that close to a star, it's usually going to be tidally locked, and this planet is tidally locked. So, like Mercury, Mercury's not quite tidally locked, but this planet, like our moon is to Earth, one side will always be facing it.
Yeah.
So as it goes round, it turns so that one side always faces the star. So they reckon if there was the habitable zone on the planet, it would be round the terminator. It would be round that permanent gap between day and night.
Do they have any idea whether or not there's oxygen on there?
No, not yet. This the method of finding it, which was basically detecting tiny little wobbles in the star caused by the planet going round it, that method can't really tell at this stage what it is composed of. But no doubt, all the telescopes will be turned to this planet now, and hopefully.
I mean, it is cool to ponder and and be amazed at and all that, but it's rather useless information, isn't it? Because it's 20 light years away. We're never even going to send a probe there, let alone a human being.
Well, I would disagree entirely that it's useless. I think it's sort of the cutting edge of science. It's answering the really big questions. How did we get here? How did the solar system evolve? How do these physical processes work that brought about life on Earth? And if we can replicate that, if we can find another example of that happening and observe the conditions, albeit very remotely, then it's extremely important to the advancement of science.
Okay, right. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll bank that one.
And and who knows? Perhaps one day we can go there.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't think it'll be soon, but
not you or me, Dylan. We won't be going there.
Not you or me.
No, we're stuck here on planet Earth.
In fact, Carl Sagan said, one of his quotes was, "It won't be the human race that goes to the nearest stars. It will be a species very much like us, but with more of our strengths and less of our weaknesses."
Yeah,
and I see what he means. We're frail biological creatures, and that journey through space is probably just too much for us. I would say it probably would require some sort of extra step in artificial evolution.
Yeah, just not
as opposed to natural evolution, which has been happening to us for the last few billion years.
Well, how about something we can all be involved in, and that is staring into the night sky from Earth. What is and now that the nights are warming up, it's so much better to do it. So, what can we go and see?
Well, I think one of the interesting things to look at the moment is Venus, because listeners will know that Venus has been in the western sky for the last, about 5 or 6 months. It's been shining really bright there in the west just after dark, and it still is, but it's kind of been maintaining its same height above the horizon each night. But what's happening now is the planet, because it orbits faster than us, it's catching up to Earth. It's starting to sort of race on the same track where it's been on the side for the last 5 months. It's starting to overtake Earth. That means it's going to disappear very quickly. So where it's been in the same sort of position for the last 5 months, you'll see it getting rapidly lower and lower each night. This is what Venus does. It sort of hangs about there, then it suddenly, over the course of about a week, it just sort of disappears behind the sun.
When does it come back?
About a week after that, it'll come back, but in the morning sky. So you have to get up before dawn, where it'll sort of rapidly rise in height every morning in the dawn sky.
Yeah.
And it will hang about there for a few months before it again overtakes us, but this time on the other side of the sun, so it'll disappear again to eventually appear in the evening sky again, and so on and so on.
Okay, great. Well, that is
So,
something.
yeah, it's something to look at. And, of course, we've got Jupiter, very bright there, and it's getting quite high towards the northeast now after dark. So that's still a great thing. Did you manage to get out with your telescope?
I haven't, because the weather's been so terrible. So no, but hopefully this weekend with a little bit of warmer weather and a clear sky, I should get out there.
Yeah, get into it. Get up there on Mount Albert and
have a gander.
Point your telescope at Jupiter.
Thanks very much, Dylan.
Yes, thank you.
And don't forget to check out that natural selection show at the Auckland Stardome Observatory.
Details at stardome.org.nz.
Cool. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Wammo.
Time now here